What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla Spy and a couple of other tickers. I'm also going to break down some very important information about the Tesla Semi, what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I begin down this information, before I talk about some big headlines about Tesla and talk about where Tesla is going, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit $500, you guarantee 20 free stocks. And this offer ends very soon in just about 2 days from now. Anyways, for the market, I just want to say that right now, Tesla saw this very, very nice rally all the way up to about 203 per share, only to get a little rejection with the markets as we saw SPY dipped from 550 all the way down to about 545, and Tesla went from about 203 all the way back down to about 196, but it's still holding up very, very well. We're only down 0.5%, which is still not too bad. And overall, you could see how Tesla's trying to base at these levels. After pumping so much, it is due to see a move like this. It's completely fine, guys. Nothing to worry about as Tesla's still showing some strength. So I want to break down some news before I break down what's happening with the share price. There's been some interesting news coming out that the Tesla Semi was spotted using a sensor array. And this is very significant because this is a little bit different from what a lot of other people were thinking. They'd use different types of arrays, if anything. And with this, there's actually a lot of talk now about autonomous driving capacities that are coming up for the Tesla Semi. This could be very, very useful and make things a lot more efficient, at least for people out there. And with these new autonomous systems that could be coming out, this could be very useful, at least for driver assist functions and eventually fully autonomous driving for the Tesla semis. So it's very, very cool stuff. If anything, Tesla does not use any other kind of like sensor for its autonomous driving system, but it uses these for validation of its own systems. So this could imply the development of this new supervised autonomous driving system and other big improvements with AI. So it's very, very cool stuff, and I can't wait to see what else this leads to. So this is something that's making a lot of headlines. There's also been a lot of talk about how Tesla's at 200 a share. Many analysts are saying that this is it for Tesla. It's about to see a big reversal. Deliveries are not going to be too good. Here's my view. If Tesla wants to continue to hold above 200 and continue to rally, we need to get a decent deliveries report. If deliveries are very lackluster and Tesla ends up getting a big reversal, then yes, we could get a big rejection off where we currently are. So I do agree with what this headline is implying. However, I don't want to say with 100% certainty that this means we will get a rejection. We don't know that for sure. We still have to wait for the next major catalyst, which is going to be Tesla's deliveries. So I can't wait to see what else that leads to. Otherwise, we're just going to be very patient. What is Tesla doing? Got a nice rally up to 203. We got rejected. Now we're kind of shuffling right here around this 196 zone. We have resistance at 197. If this breaks, we'll be looking for 200. If we lose 196, we'll be looking for 194 and eventually these lower levels. I think that Tesla has been shuffling for the past 3.5 hours around this range. So we might just continue to shuffle for now. If the market dips a little lower, it could drag Tesla closer to 194, but I'm not really thinking it's going to drop too much. I think for the most part, Tesla will just continue to shuffle. It's still stuck within these ranges. For SPY, I'm seeing something very similar. SPY has also dips just like how Tesla has, but we're watching 545 as key support. If that fails, this will be looking for move back down to 544. If we break past 545.8, I'll be looking for 547 again. Those are your levels. As of right now, we're kind of dipping a bit towards 545. I could see this actually break. We could actually get very close to about the 544s. Could be looking for that, but I'm not really expecting it to be too horrible, at least for SPY. I'm not really expecting this to get a massive crash or anything like that because we are forming a nice falling wedge like structure. So this could lead to a big bounce again going into early next week. So yes, it could dip a little bit more. It is possible we continue to fall a little lower, but we are forming a very, very nice wedge, and this could lead to a nice bounce going into like next week, just temporarily. So we will see how this ends up developing. I'll be watching this very carefully, at least for the time being. Looking at the QQQ, something very similar is developing. We also have a very, very nice looking falling wedge that's developing. So just be careful if you're turning overly bearish. We have key support currently around this 480 area, and we have resistance around 482.5. That's going to be our key level too. I'll be watching just to see how well this ends up holding up, but we have another wedge that's developing right here on our QQQ chart. So we will see if this leads to a little bit more downside if we get a big bounce later on, maybe by the end of the day, if not by early next week. But I'll be watching this wedge to see if this truly does develop. I'll be very, very patient nonetheless. For a few others, we also have Nvda. Nvda is also forming something similar. It's been dipping quite a bit, all the way back down to 122.8, the exact level we had right here. Now it's getting a nice rebound to 124.5. It's just shuffling, right? The market's very boring. It is a Friday. We're seeing a lot of shuffling, a lot of sideways price action. So I'm not really expecting too much, at least for Nvidia. It may just continue to shuffle just under 125. So I anticipate that's going to be what ends up continuing. For Bitcoin, Bitcoin is still at the support we called out. We're still shuffling at 60,500. So we have a very, very critical level on Bitcoin. This looks like it could be forming a giant M or a double top, whatever you want to call it. If we lose this support right here, 60,500, look for a bigger dip. If we hold this, we'll be rebounding back up to the 62,000 area. So I'm just going to give this some time and see how this ends up developing over the next couple of days. For Apple struggled to hold above 216, got a rejection off that. 214 was our next level. Now we're approaching 212.5. I think Apple's going to dip a bit more to 212.5, and we'll see if we get a bounce off there or not. That's actually very close to our 30 minutes 200 EMA. So it might dip a little bit more, and we'll see if we get a bounce or not. So I'm just going to be very patient. Supermicro, lo and behold, this got a rejection. I was talking about this potentially coming back down, and we are continuing to fall, as you guys can see right here, looking kind of weak. We also reached my 830 target right here. We reached my target before trying to come back up a little bit, but it still looks a little bit more bearish. So just be careful with Supermicro. Could make its way back down to the 830s. For AMD, AMD has a double top leg structure kind of rejecting right here. If we continue to fall, excuse me, we'll be looking for 160. I did call that it might pop and then drop, and we might get a retest of this breakout. So look for a little dip towards 160. Coinbase. Coinbase has once again an interesting structure right here. We could dip a little bit more to retest this trend line. Came very close to it, so there could be a little bit of a dip coming a few more points before it tries to bounce again. So I'm still seeing that range maintaining itself. For Amazon, we had 196. I told you if that broke, we'll be looking for even more downside. We failed to hold 196, so the support to be watching for is 194. Resistance is at 196. So make sure you watch that zone. That's where Amazon's kind of shuffling. So it's looking a little bit weaker, but we'll have to see if we can hold 194. That's going to be critical for it. On Meta, I was calling a dip. As you guys can see, Meta is dipping a bit. We called 515. I told you if that broke, we'll be looking for about 512. I think is the level I called out. Then we have 510, which is our 200 EMA. So I see us kind of like shuffling between 512 and eventually 510. So a little bit of a dip for Meta, and we'll see if we bounce off that or not. Microsoft, on the other hand, is still showing some strength as it's holding up, but I see a risk of it dipping later on towards the very low 452s and eventually making its way back down to 450. So I'm seeing some shuffling, and we'll have to see if that maintains. For Google, we're trading sideways within a range. We'll be looking at resistance around 186. If this breaks, we'll go a little higher. If we reject, we'll be dipping, but look for a little push on Google, at least for the time being. With that being said, guys, that's what I'm seeing, at least for the markets. Tesla is still holding up. It's shuffling around this 196 area. I do see a risk of maybe dipping a little bit to 194, but it's nothing too bad, guys. It's not bad considering how much we've been up the last 7 days. Tesla's been rallying like crazy. It used to be in the 160s. We reached 200. So I'm very happy to see it run as hard as it did. So getting a little dip like this is completely fine, especially as we approach next week when we have deliveries. And I think that Tesla might not make any more absolutely insane moves unless we get a big piece of news until we get to our next deliveries report. So I'll be waiting for that. I can't wait to see what Tesla announces next week. So we'll see how it goes. Until then, just be ready for a little bit more shop and maybe a bit of a drop for Tesla, but it shouldn't be anything too crazy in my personal opinion. All right. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you guys very soon in a few hours, and peace out.